There ain't no high like rock and roll. Yeah, I love that song. Helix did it back in '83. They're a Canadian band. It's off their No Rest for the Wicked album, in case you want to check it out. Anyway, that's my motto. I don't need that other crap to get high, no way. Give me a Fender guitar, a Marshall stack, and hit an open chord, and I'm there. Anyway, hi, my name's Ricky Blaze. Well, that's my stage name. My real name is Richard Bellington, but that doesn't sound too rock and rollish now, does it? Anyway, my friends call me Ace because of my favorite guitarist, Ace Frehley from Kiss. Who's Kiss? Are you kidding me? They're only the best theatrical rock band ever. I have all 31 of their albums, plus a few bootlegs, and I've seen them live in concert at least 15 times. Last time I went to see them, I went with Donovan. He's a customer here. He's deathly afraid of that girl that works in the floral section, but that's a different story. Anyway, I play guitar in an 80s hard rock heavy metal cover band called Blackened Image. Maybe you heard of us. No? Oh, okay then. Moving on. Anyway, I work dairy here at Barnaby's. It's not the most glamorous gig in the world. Hey, it pays the bills. I mess with the LP guy, Winston, a lot. He follows me around watching me. I guess he thinks I'm going to steal stuff because of my long hair and tattoos. I like to take stuff from one owl, carry it around a little bit, and drop it off in another owl just to mess with him. I heard he had a breakdown or something years ago, but that's a different story. Now let me tell y'all about Barnaby's. It's an old store. The pallet jacks that we use to unload the trucks are ancient. We don't have any of this multi-battery powered electric jacks that the big name stores do. No way. We have manual pallet jacks. For those of you that don't know what a manual pallet jack is, it's a piece of machinery that's used to move pallets from one place to the other. It has two metal forks on wheels connected to a safety bar on wheels, connected to a metal crank handle with an adjustable lever to attach it. You have to manually roll it to the open end of the pallet, then push down the lever and crank it up by repeatedly pushing the handle up and down. That will raise the pallet. Then pull it to wherever you want to go and hope you're strong enough to pull the 4,000 plus pound pallet that's on it. Then push the lever up to lower it in place. It's really a pain in the butt. Anyway, a couple guys have told me that they've turned stories into Mr. Barnaby about weird and strange things that happen here. Now, this story will rock your socks off. I've never seen anything like this before. I even wrote a song about it, but that's a different story. Anyway, before I tell you this, I cannot emphasize enough that I do not use drugs of any sort. And I gave up drinking 18 years ago, so this was not a hallucination by either of the two. Now check this out. It was late August, around 8 o'clock in the morning. There was a full moon the night before. Now, everyone knows that full moons bring out the crazies, and a lot of weird stuff happens during that time. Anyway, we just received our dairy truck. Stuart let the driver in, then went out front for a smoke, just leaving me and the driver alone in the back room. Now, our contract with this supplier says that the driver must unload the pallets from the truck and place the pallets on the backroom floor, and the associates will put them where they need to go. It's a liability issue or something. I don't know. Anyway, he opened the roll-up door to the truck, and immediately we heard a low squeaking noise coming from inside the truck. I thought it was the refrigeration unit going bad, but I was way wrong. The driver and I put the large metal plank across the opening between the loading dock floor and the back of the truck. The driver then started to unload the pallets. After each pallet, the squeaking noise got louder. 4 pallets of freight, 3 pallets of milk later, the noise was almost deafening. All that remained at that point was a pallet full of eggs. The driver took the jack into the truck, went under the pallet, jacked it up, and started to unload it from the truck. Apparently, he didn't have the pallet jacked up high enough because it hit the metal plank, causing it to shift and fall down into the opening. The front wheel of the pallet jack fell into the opening as well. Momentum took over, causing the pallet to fall forward, The safety bar gave way and the pallet came crushing down on the driver, who fell backwards, slamming his head hard on the concrete floor. Blood and brains was pouring out the back of his head as that massive weight of the pallet laid on him. I knew he was dead. Anyways, I was standing over by the baler when it happened. Tommy and Zeke had just got done making the bale, so the baler was empty. I don't mess with that thing unless I absolutely have to. I heard about what happened to Stephanie, but that's a different story. Anyway, now brace yourself because what happened next is something that nightmares are made of. As the pallet of eggs came crushing down on the driver, the eggs obviously broke. You would have expected egg whites and yolk to come pouring out of the boxes, but no, it was blood, lots of it. The squeaking noise was at a fever pitch. Suddenly, the boxes started to shake and scratching noises was heard as well. The boxes began to rip open and these things came flying and crawling out. Dead ones fell out and just laid there on the floor until these things started to eat their bodies. It was so gross. Now, let me tell you about these things. They were little chicks, but they weren't normal little chicks. No, they were half bat, half chick, like a vampire chick. I dated a goth chick once. It's kind of the same thing. Well, not really. Never mind. Anyway, they just kept coming. They were everywhere. There had to be at least 100 of them. They had little chick bodies with bat wings, a chick head with a bat face and beak. These things were cool looking, but mean as hell. I jumped in the baler and closed the safety gate, afraid for my life, as some of them attacked the truck driver's dead carcass while others completely annihilated the back room. They ripped at the driver's flesh, they tore apart his arms, his neck, and his face, pulling the skin and tissue straight off the bone and eating it. They gouged out his eyes with their beaks and ate them too, like eyeball meatballs. Blood was everywhere, man. It was horrifying. Through the safety gate, I saw them finish off the driver until there was nothing left but skeletal remains. Meanwhile, the others were tearing open bags of sugar, boxes of cereal, and cases of water, among other things, creating a huge mess all over the backroom floor. I pulled out my phone and called 911. I didn't really know how to explain what was going on, so I just told them there was an accident and to send out the cops, the coroner, and animal control. I hung up from them just in time to see one of these things fly into a 2-liter bottle of Coke. Its beak penetrated the bottle and the pressure blew him and the soda straight across the back room, slamming into the bay doors. That was hilarious. I had to hold back laughter so they wouldn't find me in the baler. Anyway, the little guy was okay though. He got up, shook it off, and went back to eating stuff. The cops and animal control showed up by 10 minutes later, sirens blaring. I guess they heard the sirens and it hurt their ears because they all stopped at the same time. They let out a blood-curdling squeak in unison. Some ran for the small opening between the fallen pallets and the bay door, trying to escape through the field behind the store. Others ran through the bay doors onto the sales floor. Horrific screams of terror could be heard soon after. I opened the safety gate and climbed out of the baler. I ran to the bay door and saw these things running in a pack through the field and heading toward the neighboring housing development. There was nothing I could do. Anyway, I then turned around and headed for the sales floor. The screams were getting louder and more intense. I walked through the doors, turned the corner, and saw what I could only describe as the attack scene from The Birds, that old Alfred Hitchcock film. Vertigo, Psycho, Rear Window, nothing? Never mind. Anyway, groups of these things were attacking the customers and eating their flesh, just like the truck driver. People were running and screaming, jumping over the dead bodies as these things tore at their hair and clothes until they succumbed to their attack and fell to their death. I hid behind a huge Velveeta cheese display so they couldn't see me. Suddenly, multiple gunshots could be heard. Many large metal canisters come flying from the front of the stores, smashing into walls, displays, and the floor, releasing what I assume was tranquilizer gas into the air. I began to cough violently and soon passed out. I woke up about a half hour later in the back of an ambulance. The doors were wide open, and from my point of view, I could see multiple ambulances and coroner vehicles, EMTs, and coroner personnel were loading dead bodies into the back of them. Animal control personnel were pushing huge boxes that read hazardous waste on the side. They loaded it into the back of a flatbed truck and then left. The ambulances and coroners left as well. The cops came and took my statement, and they left too. I was released from the ambulance as there was nothing physically wrong with me. I stood there in the parking lot with the other survivors, some employees, some customers. People were crying, shaking, and talking about what happened. I was just glad to be alive. For some strange reason, the cops didn't shut down the store this time. They told Pat that it was safe to go back to work. That was odd. Anyway, Pat did shut down the store for a little while, though. He made Stephen and the rest of us clean up the mess on the sales floor and the back room, then opened the store back up about an hour later. By this time, it was about 12:30. I was getting hungry, so I decided to take my lunch. After all that, you wouldn't think I'd be hungry, but I've got a stomach of steel. I watch too many horror movies for stuff like that to affect me. Anyway, I went to the cooler and grabbed my lunch bag. Ironically, my girlfriend made me a chicken salad sandwich with some chips. I know, right? Anyway, I sat down at the break room table and started to eat. Suddenly, I heard a little squeaking noise coming from behind the trash can. I thought to myself, oh crap, not again. I grabbed somebody's umbrella that was sitting by the wall and prepared to beat the living crap out of this thing if it tried to attack me. Gently, I moved the trash can away to find a little chick, a normal little chick, just sitting there, shaking and chirping like it was scared. I picked him up and fed him some of my sandwich. If he only knew. I guess he was hungry because he stopped chirping at this point. I kept him in my jacket pocket till the end of my shift, then took him home with me. I bring him to all of our band practices, and we're thinking about making him the band mascot. What do you think? Anyway, it took me a while to come up with a name for him. Then I thought about it. I decided to name him Gizmo.